All right, let's talk about one of the most beloved databases out there, Postgres. But to really get why it's such a giant today, we have to rewind the clock. Way back. Back to a time when it wasn't even called Postgres.
So the whole story, all of it, really boils down to one single year, 1995. This is it. This is the moment a kind of obscure academic project started its journey to, well, taking over the world.
So that's the big question, right? Before it was PostgreSQL, what was it? If you were slinging code back in the day, you wouldn't be saying PostgreSQL. You'd be talking about something else. So let's dig in and find out what. Okay, so our story kicks off where so many great tech stories do, on a university campus. We're heading to the University of California, Berkeley.
And right at the center of this whole thing is one guy, Michael Stonebreaker. This man is a visionary computer scientist. And here's the kicker. He had just finished another massive database project, but he was already thinking, what's next? What's the next big thing?
Okay, so check this out. Stonebreaker wasn't new to this. Back in the 70s, he'd already built a really successful database called Ingress. But, by the late 80s, he was already hitting its limits. He saw what was coming next and knew Ingress couldn't handle it. So he started a brand new project to fix all those problems. And that project? It was called Postgres.
And here's the thing you really need to get. Postgres was not just another database. Stonebreaker's big idea was for something called an object relational system. So what does that even mean? Well, think about it like this. Your typical database just stores simple stuff, right? Text, numbers. But imagine a database that could actually understand a whole employee object with its own data, its own custom rules, its own behaviors, all packed together. This was a huge deal. It was a totally radical idea built for a future he saw coming.
And that brings us right back to 1995, that critical year. Because, see, this academic project, it was brilliant, for sure. But user-friendly? Not so much. But in 95, another radical idea came along, and it was about to change, well, everything.
And this is where the story gets really good, because two new characters enter the scene. Two Berkeley students, Andrew Yu and Jolly Chen. They looked at the Postgres code and saw something amazing, but they also saw its one giant, massive flaw.
So what was their game-changing idea? 2 words, SQL support. That's it. They took the existing Postgres code and bolted on an interpreter for SQL. And you have to understand, this was absolutely huge. This was the standard language that pretty much every developer on the planet already knew how to use.
And this just lays it all out perfectly. On one side, you've got the original Postgres. Super academic, right? It had its own weird, complex query language. Not many people used it. Then, on the other side, you get Postgres95. Suddenly, it's focused on the real world. It uses SQL, which everyone knows. And just like that, it's accessible to, well, to all developers.
Look, this wasn't just some minor technical update. What they built was a bridge from this powerful but isolated academic idea over to the huge community of developers who could actually put it to work.
And this quote just nails it. Postgres95 bridged that exact gap. You had all this amazing innovation on one side, but no one could really use it. Postgres95 was the missing piece that made all that power actually practical, for the first time ever.
And hey, it wasn't just about SQL. They packed in a bunch of other key improvements too. It was way more portable, so you could run it on more machines. They made some critical performance tweaks, and, get this, they introduced the command line interface that developers still use and love today, PCSQL. Every single one of these changes was about one thing, making this a tool that real developers would actually want to pick up and use.
But here's what you've got to remember. Postgres95 itself wasn't the destination. Not at all. It was the launchpad. It was like sending up a flare to the entire open source world saying, hey, look over here. This amazing thing is finally ready for you.
So all of this new energy, this new momentum, it led straight to the final step in its evolution. This is where the project shed its old name and became the database we all know today.
This just shows you the whole journey, right? Step 1, Postgres, the brilliant academic project. Step 2, Postgres95, that all-important bridge that added SQL. And then finally, Step 3, PostgreSQL, the open-source beast that took its history, combined it with its new accessibility, and just took off.
So yeah, you might not hear the name Postgres95 thrown around a lot these days. It kind of feels like a footnote, but its impact, it's impossible to overstate.
It was really the first heartbeat of the project we know today. It was that moment it truly came alive.
You know, it's funny. It's so easy to forget that every piece of tech we use, no matter how complicated it seems, has a story, a very human story, full of real people, big ideas, and moments of breakthrough.
And for Postgres, the reason it's running on countless servers across the globe right now, that whole story started with this one spark, Postgres95. It took this incredible, powerful engine and gave it a voice, a language the whole world could understand. And man, did it light a fire.